Last week, she shared her journey from Jamaica to Boston, where by 15, she was a teen mother on welfare. How did she turn things around? My guest is P. Falasha Harrison, social entrepreneur and author. I'm Archibald Gordon. This is Profile. Welcome to part 2 of my conversation with P. Falasha Harrison. I'm Archibald Gordon. This is Profile. And she is a social entrepreneur. She is an author, and her new book is coming out. It's called The Healing God Designed, A Secret Work for Trauma Recovery, and also one of the speakers at the Women Ignite Summit under the theme Elevate. Yes. And you've been such a fascinating conversation. When we ended last week, we were talking about, growing up growing up largely in Jamaica, visiting Boston in the United States, where you were born in the summers, moving on to Boston fully, as a teenager and the disruption there, and also just coming to sort of recognize and realize the differences, particularly, I would say, with regard to race and ethnicity in Boston. And that's where we ended last week as well, where you're talking about starting to understand what one might term as microaggressions, or, that's a lingo that's used in the United States. First, define what you call a microaggression, by the way. It's like, what do you call a microaggression?
To me, microaggressions are those entitlements.
Yes.
Like I was sharing, we're both in the mall. You're walking towards me. I'm walking towards you. Who's moving? The expectation is that I'm going to move while I'm holding my granddaughter's hand, so that you can continue to walk straight without disrupting your path. When in actuality, I'm holding a little child, and I'm not going to move her to adjust or accommodate you. So those, for me, that's a microaggression, and that's a sense of entitlement. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves. So I also let my children know, don't move. When you're walking, keep walking.
And these were things that you recognized as you started to see the United States in a different way, as someone who worked in the governor's office in Massachusetts, one of your first jobs, not your first job, but one of your first jobs, as you were raising 2 young children as well. You'd move on from that job into jobs in different kinds of sectors. Why, you said you left because of just sort of understanding the atmosphere and what you were seeing.
And it compromised my values. And I felt like if I couldn't really affect any change in that space, and I refused to be a part of it if I can't fix it, right? And so I didn't want to continue to engage in that space.
So this moves you now into temp work across a range of different agencies. We're talking about finance, HR, healthcare, and legal sectors. And this is where life sort of, the life before in Jamaica, where there's a structure, the lack of structure, the seeing what was happening in school starts to sort of manifest in a different kind of way.
Yes.
What are you seeing as you move into the different kind of temp jobs? First of all, what are you doing in temp jobs?
Whatever they hired me to do.
So this is something we see on TV as Jamaicans, but don't necessarily know. So first of all, explain what it is. You go into an agency?
Yep, we go into an agency interview. Based on your resume and your skill set, they can place those transferable skills in any sector that is looking to hire or needs a position filled, whether it's maternity leave or an overload of work that needs to be completed. They hire based on the need. And it could be in any sector, because generally, healthcare, they're going to have training to train you on the language for their industry. They're going to train you on maybe the systems that they're using, but it's still the same concept, the same transferable skills of, say, data entry or customer service or whatever it is. So you start out there. You do a really great job at the first one, then you become one of their prime top candidates, and then they're going to push you off everywhere, right? And whether or not you have the skill set, they're trusting that you have these transferable skills that can work in this environment, so go ahead and go over there and do the job and get it done really well.
So you are automatically now becoming one of those people. What makes it possible for you to actually do it when you are actually doing it?
Do you mean the actual work itself?
Yeah.
whether we believe it or not, we all have transferable skills. Just because we're doing this particular job in this sector or in this industry doesn't mean that we can't take that very same practical step, those skills, and put them in a new environment, a new industry. They're all transferable. At the core of everything we do is all dependent upon the workflow, the operations, and the tools that are being used, right? And as long as you're trainable, you're capable of doing just about any position or any job that is out there for you. I truly believe that. You just have to want to do it, and it's transferable. We are on our phone scrolling. Most tools now are all tech-based. So if you can use your phone, if you can send an email, you can pretty much work in any environment.
So you're all of those skills transferable, and you're beginning to observe, as you said, patterns in our organization succeed or fail.
Yes.
What are you seeing? What are the patterns?
The ones that succeed have structure. They have workflows, they have systems, and these systems actually work. And they have tools that back up the systems. And they have what we call SOP, a standard operating procedure.
Yes.
So if, God forbid, I get hit by a bus and I can't show up, you can step in and continue, the business continues to flow.
Because it's like a list of things to do. Step one, step two, step two.
Exactly. Whereas the organizations, which were usually, the nonprofit organizations, didn't have that structure. They didn't have the workflow, which is not their fault necessarily, because nonprofits are generally passion-based, right? So you're hiring based on who can meet the mission, who can support the vision, but you're not thinking about it as a business. And you need to have those structures in place. You need to have a workflow. You need to have the right tools. You need to have systems put in place, and you need to have your standard operating procedures and processes so that whoever's coming in after can just pick up the flow. You don't want to always have one person having all the information in their head or being able to do everything. That doesn't work. That causes problems, and your business is stagnant.
So what might have seemed as disruption at the time, because you don't have a steady job, the way we think of a steady job, of having this job that you go to and it's the thing you do forever, becomes sort of your superpower, because now you're learning across sectors, bam, 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 and you can see the patterns, and you're beginning to see all of it together. I want to talk a little bit about what that means in terms of the next steps that you take, but we have to take our first break on this episode of Profile, part 2 of my conversation with author and social entrepreneur P. Falasha Harrison. We're back with you after these messages.
Okay.